Interior, New York Society Library, lobby. A shipping box with a label from the EAP Society of Baltimore sits on a ledge of a bar-height information desk. The box moves slightly, as if it is possessed. A stunning librarian with glasses, Ligeia, 28, an impeccable Goth style, manicured black hair and fingernails, works at the reception desk. She wears a headset. A clock on the wall reads 4:45.
About the show me, don't tell me, so to speak. And this is all about you listening about what's happening. There's even stage directions even being mentioned within this piece. So I did sort of see a more audiobook vibe to it. I even found myself kind of drifting away from the imagery and just kind of really focusing on the words being said and what's actually being told to me. And with that in mind, we are kind of given this fun little fan fiction, so to speak. It does give fan fiction vibes. It did give me a visual. I am residing in Los Angeles. There's an infamous bookstore out here called the Last Bookstore that has a rare section. So it did kind of bring me there and bring me these visual elements of me also kind of experiencing and looking at these rare books. It does have this sensual romantic element kind of thrown into play with the supernatural twist of Edgar Allan Poe, in a sense, coming back to life in a ghost form and falling in love with a girl in 2023 and having to introduce someone who is from a different time and explaining to them the technological advancements and kind of possibly talking to someone, a part of the dead that doesn't even recognize how famous they are, I think is all of these different elements. It's lighthearted, it's fun, it's carefree, it's sort of, with those attributes in mind, this is kind of a fun quick listen.
So for me, this film was a really interesting experience of simultaneously watching a film happen with pictures and words, but also imagining another one based on the images and the words that are being said. An example of this is the still image of the box that we see, but the words that we hear are, "This box is moving," which I think in your mind conjures an image of a box moving in the mind, but it's very interesting to see how basically two films are simultaneously happening.
I like that as the audience, we are narrated through the short, like a story time reading. I think it's fascinating how they use only imagery to tell the story. It definitely leaves room for the imagination, the viewer seeing this as fiction. I like how the creator used imagery and narration to put to life a fictional story that they wanted to tell using sort of these realistic characters to put to life their imaginations.
Yeah, at one point, it felt like I was seeing a book come to life, but also I registered that it was a script in like movie and TV format. The dark reality shows us that we can turn one event in history and spin it off with as many possibilities as possible. We all, or well, most of us should know the story of Edgar Allan Poe, but this version makes him a revengeful spirit who's looking to murder his killer, but meets an optimistic and kind-hearted librarian in the modern world. I like both the characters. Their personalities complement one another very well, like dark versus light. I would have never guessed where the story was taking us by the end, that with the romantic twist to things between Poe and his admirer Ligeia. There was a lot of characteristic and charm and many stories being told into one. I felt like this piece was made from a fan of Edgar Allan Poe who wants him to be remembered and recognized, but also a tribute to the goddess Ligeia with inspiration or patronage to the New York Library.
Kind of horror experimental, I would say. There is the Edgar Allan Poe subject, of course. We know Edgar Allan Poe is one of the great masters of horror of the 19th century. But I really enjoy the fact that the story is told in a kind of book style, but this is the narration, and on top of that, then the story, the visuals are all combined with these different photos and images. Um, and then we can really hear the thoughts of the main character, especially when he Edgar Allan Poe goes and find this woman, this lady, and they stare at each other. I think overall it was very, very captivating.
I really liked it. I thought it was really fascinating, kind of this odd, almost like paranormal romance in a way, and that when you start off the movie, like, that's definitely not the direction I was expecting it to go, so I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun, I thought it was really intriguing, I thought from, like I said, from a storytelling point of view, I thought it was really unique, which is harder to do these days, and it really kept me captivated the entire time. I was really interested and invested in kind of where the story was going. So I think as far as a movie goes, that's all you can really like, that's the goal in my head, at least, is if you can keep your audience captivated as an audience member, if a movie can keep me captivated and interested for however long it, for whatever the duration is, then I think that movie's a success.
The Gothic story at the New York Library, and of course, we have Edgar Allan Poe's Ghost. It was so exciting. I like the phrase, I exist in darkness. It was just so Poe. This dramatized reading was so engaging and full of action and emotion. Just imagining how Poe will react at his own popularity and learning about movies and desktops and looking at his own portrait. And then we have this romantic scene with a ghost. It's just so Poe.
Story had a great bunch of twists and turns, and it felt very much like it was Poe-esque. It's something that I think Edgar Allan Poe would have enjoyed because it was dark but bizarre at the same time, which is kind of what his books are. All of his stories, all his poems were kind of dark and twisted, and this is kind of what this film is. I didn't expect it to be a bunch of pictures with the script, but it works. It's a great concept to make the full thing. It's a great proof of concept to show what the vision's like while hearing the tone. So it really works to get the full film done. It was very different, but I think it was a great tribute to Edgar Allan Poe as well.